Hi everyone, welcome to Netgate Chemistry. So today's topic is crystal defects. Crystal defects are of four types: point defect, line defect, surface defect, and your volume defect. Point defect is considered to be zero dimensional. We cannot represent it any dimension. For line defect we need at least one dimension, so it is one dimensional defect. For surface defect it is two dimensional. Volume defect is three dimensional. Line defect is further categorized into two categories, that is edge distortion and screw distortion. The surface defect is classified in four categories: grain boundary, twin boundary, tilt boundary, and stacking faults. Volume defects can be due to cracks. So this is the basic introduction of your crystal defects. In crystal defects we are going to study more about the point defects. Okay, this one, these we are not going to study right now. Okay, so if we talk about the point defect, these are of further two types: stoichiometric and non-stoichiometric. So stoichiometric are further of two types: Schottky and Frenkel defects. Non-stoichiometric defects are further of four types: metal deficiency defect, metal excess defect, electronic defect, and impurity defect. So first we'll be studying about the stoichiometric defects, that is Schottky and Frenkel defect. After that we'll go ahead with the non-stoichiometric defect. In that we are going to study about the two types of metal deficiency defects and two types of metal excess defects. Okay, after that what we are going to do is we'll also study a little bit about the impurity defects, that is in covalent solid, intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors, which are further of two types: extrinsic semiconductors, N type and P type. So what we are going to study, basically we are going to study the point defects. In point defects we are going to study first the stoichiometric, Schottky and Frenkel defects, these one. In non-stoichiometric we are going to study about the two types of metal deficiency defects and two types of metal excess defects, and also we are going to study about the impurity defects in covalent solids. In that also the extrinsic semiconductors, N type and P type. So these are the topics which we are going to study under crystal defects. So first we are going to study about the Schottky defect. Which comes under the category of your point defect. Okay, in stoichiometric Schottky defect, what happens? Same number of cations and anions are missing, or you can say they escape from their lattice. So suppose this is our NaCl crystal lattice. Here Na positive, here Cl negative, Na positive, Cl negative, Na positive, Cl negative. Okay, this is a type of crystal lattice of NaCl. So what happens? Equal number of cations and anions escape. Suppose one Na positive is escaping from this crystal, so one Cl will also be escaping. So equal number of cations and anions are missing from the crystal structure, and these type of defects are called as Schottky defects. Okay, so what are the characteristics of these defects? See, because cations and anions are escaping, so definitely density of this crystal is going to decrease. at high temperature, equal number of cations and anions are missing. This you can write, equal number of cations and anions will be missing at high temperature. That is, if the temperature is increased, the cations and anions are going to escape out, and if they are equal in number, then that type of defect comes under the category of Schottky defect. Examples are NaCl, CsCl, AgBr, etc. Okay, next type of defect is Frankel defect. In this defect, what happens? Ions occupy the interstitial sites, they do not escape out. Now, what are interstitial sites? Suppose this is any crystal lattice. Here any cation and anion are present. Okay, so what happens? One of the cation or anion, they are going to be inside the interstitial site. Suppose this is your cation, and due to some reason it goes inside this interstitial site here. Okay, so what happens? It is now missing from its original position and goes inside this interstitial site. So if any of the ions is occupying the interstitial site, then that kind of defect is known as your Frankel defect. So what are the characteristics? Density is going to remain same. Why? Because any of the cation and anion is not going to be missing out of the lattice. These are present in the lattice, but they are out of their positions only. Okay, so density is also is always going to remain same. Examples could be AgBr, AgI, zinc sulfide. So always remember, one type of crystal lattice can show more than one type of defects. It is not necessary that if a crystal lattice is showing Schottky defect, then it cannot show your Frankel defect, or vice versa. One type of lattice can always show one or more types of crystal defects. So this is all about your Frankel defect. So now we are going to study about the non-stoichiometric defects. In the non-stoichiometric defects, they were two of the types, that were metal deficiency defect and metal excess defect. Metal deficiency defect was further of two types, in which one there is loss of cation and in which there is gain of anion. So first is the case when there is loss of cation. Suppose this is your crystal lattice, okay, of FeO. This is the crystal lattice of FeO. What happens? Suppose this cation is escaping out of this lattice. So what happens? In order to maintain the electrical neutrality, what happens? The cations which are present in the crystal, some of the cations, they increase their oxidation number. So Fe2 positive increases its oxidation state from 2 positive to Fe3 positive, just to maintain the electrical neutrality. Okay, this one is going to increase and this one is also going to increase, so that this +2 charge is compensated in the overall lattice. Okay, examples are your FeO, NiO, Fes. In this case, density is going to decrease because cation is escaping out, so the number of ion in the overall lattice is going to decrease, so overall density is going to decrease. Next is the case of gain of anion. So suppose this is your crystal lattice of VO2. So what happens? In this case, one anion occupies the interstitial site. One anion is coming. So what happens? Again, to maintain the electrical neutrality, the cations have to increase their oxidation state. So these cations are going to increase their oxidation state. Some of the cations are going to increase their oxidation state so that electrical neutrality is maintained in the overall crystal lattice. So in this case, anions are coming from the outer environment, so overall the number of ions in this crystal are increasing because ion from the outside is coming in the overall crystal. So because number of ions are increasing, so definitely density as well as the mass is going to increase. Example is your VO2. Next is the case of your metal excess defect. This is further of two types. One of the type is in which there is loss of anion, and the other is in which there is gain of cation. So suppose this is the case of loss of anion. Suppose this is your NaCl structure. If we treat in sodium vapor lamp, so what happens? An electron comes here, Cl negative escapes out, and to maintain the electrical neutrality, what happens? An electron is introduced in this overall crystal lattice. This is called as your F center. Okay, this is called your F center, where electron is present instead of Cl negative, and this type of defect is called as your loss of anion in case of metal excess defect. One important thing to note here, that this F center is responsible for the colored characteristics of these types of defects and is responsible for conduction also. Crystal becomes paramagnetic in nature due to the introduction of the electrons. Okay, so this is an important point in case of loss of anions. Next is gain of cation, in which cation from outside comes in the interstitial site. So if cation is coming, definitely it is going to have some positive charge. So in order to maintain the electrical neutrality, electrons are also introduced in the interstitial site so that the overall electrical neutrality is maintained in the crystal. So its example is ZnO. So these are your basically the type of non-stoichiometric defects. So now I'm going to discuss about the band theory of solids. Suppose there is one lithium atom and there is another lithium atom. Okay, they will be having valence shell electronic configuration 2s1 and 2s1. That is, one electron is present in the valence shell of lithium and here also the same. So what happens if they combine to form Li2? Then there will be one bonding molecular orbital and one anti-bonding molecular orbital. There are total 2 electrons that will be present in the bonding molecular orbital, right? Suppose now there are 3 Li atoms. Again, all of them will be having one electron in the valence shell. They are going to form one bonding molecular orbital, one non-bonding molecular orbital, and one anti-bonding molecular orbital. 3 electrons will be present like this. Here you can see bonding molecular orbital is fully filled, anti-bonding molecular orbital is fully empty. Okay, here you can see bonding molecular orbital is fully filled, non-bonding molecular orbital is partially filled, and anti-bonding molecular orbital is fully empty. Okay, suppose we are going to form Li4. Then 4 Li atoms will be present, each having 1 electron in the valence shell. So they are going to form 2 bonding molecular orbitals and 2 anti-bonding molecular orbitals. 4 electrons will be present in the bonding molecular orbitals. Bonding molecular orbitals are fully filled and anti-bonding are fully empty. So if we are going to consider n number of lithium atoms, then what is going to happen? There will be n number of bonding and anti-bonding molecular orbital. Bonding molecular orbital will be fully filled with electrons, okay, and anti-bonding molecular orbital will be fully empty. So if n number of atoms are present, these are basically going to form a band. Okay, actually two bands, one of which is going to be fully filled and one of which is going to be fully empty. So these bands are known as your valence band or the conduction bands when there are conditions. If your two types of bands are present, valence band and conduction band, if your valence band is fully filled and conduction band is fully empty, then the given substance can be your conductor. Okay, if valence band is partially filled or not at all filled and conduction band is empty, or you can say both the bands are fully filled, valence band also and your conduction band also, both are fully filled, then that is going to be an insulator for sure. For example, in case of your beryllium has configuration 2s2. So if you are going to take beryllium atoms which are n in number, these are going to form n number of bonding and n number of anti-bonding molecular orbitals. Both of these orbitals, BMO and ABMO, are going to be fully filled. So electron cannot move from bonding to anti-bonding. So these are your insulators. So if I want to let you understand what are bands, then I can say bands are basically the continuum of energy. Okay, and based on the fact whether these are fully filled, partially filled, or fully empty or partially empty, we can say that the given substance is conductor or an insulator. So this is all about your band theory. In band theory, we also study about the Fermi energy levels, which are your hypothetical energy levels. So now we want to know where these Fermi energy levels are present. So suppose there is a substance having valence band and conduction band like this. So consider a case of an insulator, that this substance is an insulator. This substance is going to be an insulator only if this is your Fermi energy level. What happens in case of insulator, this difference between the valence band and conduction band is very much. The electron cannot go from valence band to the conduction band, and Fermi energy level is present in between. So those are your insulators. If your conduction band and valence band have not much of the energy difference, then those come under the category of your conductors. Okay. Now I'm going to show the Fermi energy levels in case of n-type and p-type semiconductors. Suppose there is an n-type of semiconductor having conduction band and valence band placed like this. Okay, so in case of n-type semiconductor, Fermi energy level is near to the conduction band. This is your Fermi level, which is near to your conduction band in case of n-type semiconductor. Star mark this. Suppose there is valence band here and conduction band here. So in case of p-type semiconductors, what happens? The Fermi energy level is near to your valence band. Okay, so this is the placement of your Fermi energy levels. Fermi energy levels are nothing but the hypothetical energy levels where there is maximum probability of movement of your electrons. That is, the electrons from the valence band are going to going to shift to this Fermi energy level. So in case of n-type semiconductor, Fermi energy level is near to conduction band, and p-type it is near to valence band. So this was all about your band theory of solids. So I think this much is enough for this video. Thank you so much for watching.